When you look at the crowds today, you have maybe 5,000-6,000 people here. On the streets yesterday, 1 million people, 1 million Iranians in the street for the Ayatollah Khomeini. Does that not give you concern? Does that not make you afraid?
Because they are afraid, yeah, that's right. And most of the people don't say anything because they are afraid. And they are in silence, you know, they don't say anything.
Is this the silent majority of Iran out here now?
Yes, that's right.
Do you want the Shah to return?
Yes, Shah, return to the country.
What about you, Shah? Why do you want the Shah? Why does she want the Shah?
ما شاه میخوایم ما بیچاره این
شادی کشتنش حلاله کجای قرآن گفته
47 years we've been bleeding in the dark, under the shadow of the Islamic regime, with a stone-cold heart. They silenced our voices, they turned off our light. 58 days without internet, but we still fought the night. Our children took the streets, they raised their empty hands, and the world looked away. Do you understand? Do you know Europe? Do you know what's been done? Do you know Europe? 42,000 souls are gone, killed in 2 days by a regime drenched in blood. Do you know Europe? Or have you just given up? Do you know Europe? Do you feel anything at all? Or did something break inside you while Iran answered the call? Do you know Europe? 42,000 lives, 2 days, that's all it took. Mothers and fathers and sons, did you even look? We stand with Crown Prince Reza Pahlavi, our hope and voice. Millions behind him marching, he is our only choice. He only fights for freedom, democracy and human rights. But you mock him in your chambers while he fights for our lives, to pull us out of this darkness, this century-long night, while you sign deals with our killers and call it diplomatic right. Do you know Europe? Do you know what's been done? Do you know Europe? They hang 60, 40 souls one by one, hanged within 4 months by a regime drenched in blood. Do you know Europe? Or have you just given up? Do you know Europe? Do you feel anything at all? Or did something break inside you while Iran answered the call? Do you know Europe? What happened to you, Europe? What made you so cold? What turned your heart to stone? while our story went untold. Is oil worth more than blood? Is silence worth the shame? Because while you negotiate with murderers, we are dying, calling your name. Do you know Europe? Do you know what's been done? Do you know Europe? 42,000 souls are gone, killed in 2 days by a regime drenched in blood. Do you know Europe? Or have you just given up? Do you know Europe? We are still here. We are still strong. Do you know Europe? How much longer? How much longer? How long? Do you know Europe?
To all of our friends around the world, under the yoke of the Islamic Republic, Iran is identified in your minds with terrorism, extremism, and poverty. The real Iran is a different Iran, a beautiful, peace-loving, and flourishing Iran. It is the Iran that existed before the Islamic Republic, and it is the Iran that will rise again from its ashes the day the Islamic Republic falls. So let me be clear about how a free Iran will act towards its neighbors and the world after the fall of this regime. In security and foreign policy, Iran's nuclear military program will end. Support for terrorist groups will cease immediately. A free Iran will work with regional and global partners to confront terrorism, organized crime, drug trafficking, and extremist Islamism. Iran will act as a friend and a stabilizing force in the region, and it will be a responsible partner in global security. In diplomacy, relations with the United States will be normalized, and our friendship with America and her people will be restored. The State of Israel will be recognized immediately. We will pursue the expansion of the Abraham Accords into the Cyrus Accords, bringing together a free Iran, Israel, and the Arab world. A new chapter will begin, grounded in mutual recognition, sovereignty, and national interest. In energy, Iran holds some of the largest oil and gas reserves in the world. A free Iran will become a reliable energy supplier to the free world. Policymaking will be transparent. Iran's actions will be responsible. Prices will be predictable. In transparency and governance, Iran will adopt and enforce international standards. Money laundering will be confronted. Organized corruption will be dismantled. Public institutions will answer to the people. In the economy, Iran is one of the world's last great untapped markets. Our population is educated, modern, with a diaspora that connects it to the four corners of the world. A democratic Iran will open its economy to trade, investment, and innovation, and Iran will seek to invest in the world. Opportunity will replace isolation. This is not an abstract vision. It is a practical one, grounded in national interest, stability, and cooperation. To achieve this, now is the time to stand with the Iranian people. The fall of the Islamic Republic and the establishment of a secular, democratic government in Iran will not only restore dignity to my people, it will benefit the region and the world. A free Iran will be a force for peace, for prosperity, and for partnership.
وقتی واسه غمنی گرچه قصه هامون کم نیست همه خسته ایم قبولم ما فرصتی واسه ماتم نیست روشن میشه فردا خورشید سرزمین ما سرم باز و سینه سپر بلند میگم جاوید شاه وقتی واسه غمنی گرچه قصه هامون کم نیست همه خسته این قبولم ما فرصتی واسه ماتم نیست روشن میشه فردا خورشید سرزمین ما سرم باز و سینه سپر بلند میگم جاوید شاه روبروم یه واژه یه هدف به نام انتقامه پشت سرم دعای مادر و تو دستم تفنگ بابامه رو زبونم اسم شاه بگینین عشق بی انتهاست هر جا اسم ایران اومد اونجا صدای بچه رضاست فردا می نویسن تو کتاب قصه دیمار بگو با تیر جنگی کشتن بچه های بیگناه رو بگو از بخت مادرها شیر زنا و دخترامون بگو تنها شهید شدیم تا تنها نمونه شامون وقتی واسه غمنی گرچه قصه هامون کم نیست همه خسته ایم قبولم ما فرصتی واسه ماتم نیست روشن میشه فردا خورشید سرزمین ما سرم باز و سینه سپر بلند میگم جاوید شاه وقتی واسه غمنی گرچه قصه هامون کم نیست همه خسته این قبولم ما فرصتی واسه ماتم نیست روشن میشه فردا خورشید سرزمین ما سرم باز و سینه سپر بلند میگم جاوید شاه وقتی واسه غمنی گرچه قصه هامون کم نیست
همه خسته این قبولم ما فرصتی واسه ماتم نیست روشن میشه فردا خورشید سرزمین ما سرم بالا و سینه سپر بلند میگم جاوید شاه
سلام من به تو یار قدیمی منم همون هوادار قدیم
سید سلام چطوری مردک کلی کتلت شدین دایی بدون مدرک سلام بسیجی قهرمان رفتی پیش توسی با پنیر و یه نون سنگک سلام به محفل قرآنیتون سلام به مدیرای بحرانیتون سلام به حاجی اکبر و طوله هاش و خارج و رفقای ارگانیتون سلام به دزدای پول ملت که تش میفتین توی تور ملت سلام به همه شما کرکسایی که دارین نونتون رو میزنین تو خون ملت ساکتش زیر دست و پاک و تک بخورین حالا هی به یه بادکنک بدوین سلام آخر تو زندان باشه وقتی قرار به این آب خنک بخورین مرگ بر ملا متولی ننگ در دنیا ننگ بر دوتا مجاهد چپی بعد از ملا مرگ بر ملا متولی ننگ در دنیا ننگ بر دوتا مجاهد چپی بعد از ملا اینو بگذاریم به خاک میرسیم تجزیه طلبی که به خاک بیرسیم ایران مردمش وطن پرستن از کرد تا بلوچ بری به فاک بیرسی توف به هر چی مرسی است توف به هر کی در پی تجزیه است توف به لوی و همونی که شیفته ی گل ملیگران تو وطن خدا نفتی هست سر کردستان همه برپا شدن بلوچستان فدای مهسا شدن شم واحد که شیر و خورشید ما بقی جعلی ها تنها شدن شادی باشه واسه همه در میهن کور بشه چه شهرچی اهریمن رخه رو بگی تا اون 6 کلاس سواد و خبرگان و مجد سری ترجیحن شبهای عروس و دامادی باشه برن سلامتی نوش کنن و آبادی باشه مقصد کجاست میدون شهیاده به سمت اتوبان آزادی باشه سلام به نسل ندید پدیدا نبودیم ندیدیم قدیم مدیما شاه بود تو شادی کل میزدین حالا شاه بر میگرده پیک میزنین مرگ بر ملا متولی ننگ در دنیا ننگ بر دوتا مجاهد چپی بعد از ملا مرگ بر ملا متولی ننگ در دنیا ننگ بر دوتا مجاهد چپی بعد از ملا مرگ بر ملا متولی ننگ در دنیا ننگ بر دوتا مجاهد چپی بعد از ملا
ای فاهنگ به این خوشگلی با نوایده بود اسم یه مشخواهن رو توش بیاریم ولی خب لازم بود دیگه فکر کنم با نوایده
but you know how it ends. Smiles for the cameras, deals in the light, but truth disappears somewhere out of sight. Mullahs behind it, controlling the flow. You shake hands with fire, but you already know. Iranians want freedom, they're reaching high. From cells to the shadows, their voices still grow, dreaming of a future they don't even know. Deals at the top while the pressure runs low, and down below the fear continues to grow. Deal with the devil, you know what it costs. Promises fade while the lines get crossed. Deal with the devil, you hear their call, voices in chains Don't let it all go. You don't free millions by moving too slow. Mr. Trump, if you give them that deal, they keep the power, they tighten the seal. More voices silenced, more lives erased, while freedom is pushed further away. Be the Reagan they need. Take a stand, don't trade their future for a sake of a head.
Let's go. میخوام بگم از دلم، از عشق به این میهنم، به امید روز شکست دشمن شاه برمیگرده به وطن. برگشتن پهلوی، وحشت هر اجنبی، بلند بگو همشهری شاه رضا پهلوی. نظام رسیده پرتگاه، بلند بگو جاوید شاه. برگشت شاه به میهن، دوای درد وطن. این آخرین نبرده، پهلوی برمیگرده. داره میاد پهلوی، زجه بزن سید علی. راه نجات وطن، پهلوی هموطن. ایران میشه گلستان، شاه که بیاد به ایران. ایران که شاه نداره، حساب کتاب نداره. آخون باید گم بشه، توپ تانک فشفشه. گم شو بیرون اجنبی، داره میاد پهلوی. فریاد بزن جاوید شاه، شعار هر وطن ها. ما شاه میخوایم نه ملا، بذار بشنوه دنیا. ایرانی داد بزن، شاه تو فریاد بزن. برگشتن پهلوی، وحشت هر اجنبی. بلند بگو هموطن، شاه رضا پهلوی. فریاد بزن جاوید شاه، شعار هر وطن خواه. بلند بگو جاوید شاه، شعار هر وطن خواه. فریاد بزن جاوید شاه، شعار هر وطن خواه. فریاد بزن جاوید شاه، شعار هر وطن خواه. بلند بگو جاوید شاه، شعار هر وطن خواه.
Look at us here today. We see so many flags representing so many nations. We know we are not alone, and we thank you for being with us. For all people around the world who stand today in unity with the Iranian people, this is not just because it's good for us, and you do it out of compassion and care for our rights to liberty and justice and equality and human rights. But understand that it is in your best interest too, to have, unlike this regime that has been propagating terror and radicalism, we the people of Iran are peacemakers and not warmongers. We like to be friends, especially with the free world. We'd like to be able to have the best neighborly relationship with the people of our area in the region, with the Arab countries, with Israel, and all our other neighbors. We are fighting for justice, we're fighting for human rights, we are fighting for liberty, we're fighting to put an end to all sorts of discrimination. Because as an Iranian, I stand here to tell you that I've dedicated 47 years of my life because I think that my country deserves far better than what we have right now. To now understand that their best remedy is to support the people of Iran, because ultimately a free Iran will be your best partner, not just to bring stability and peace, but it will be in your best economic interest and opportunities. Together we can prosper again, and the world will be so different once the Iranian people are free. I am here to guarantee a transition to a secular, democratic future. I am committed to be that leader of transition for you, so we can one day have the final opportunity to decide the fate of our country through a democratic, transparent process, through the ballot box and free elections. And let's make sure that this time, especially the free nations of this world and their governments, stand on the right side of history.
Well, Durud, everyone. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are. Welcome to day 145 of Iran Revolution Live with your wonderful and amazing host, Mr. Armin NAVABI.
And your wonderful and amazing host, Goldie Ghamari.
Thank you so much. Armin, how are you doing today?
Good, good. So many updates from President Trump, updates from inside Iran. So, yeah, a lot to talk about. How are you today?
I'm doing as great as it could be, given the situation we're in with occupied Iran. But I'm doing pretty good. I'm doing pretty good. Yeah, I'm feeling I don't know, I feel like there's something in the air. There's something in the air, right? So
yes.
Let's well, why don't we just dive right into it then? Should we start with the updates from President Trump or from inside Iran?
Well, okay. I mean, let's go maybe in the order that it happened, right?
Okay.
So, yeah. Actually, maybe the first important thing to talk about is the Iranian people, right? Let's talk about the Islamic Republic executed 2 men on Thursday over accusations of membership in militant groups and armed action against the state. The judiciary's Mizan News reported. The report identified the men as Ramin Zaleh and Karim Marufpur, and said their sentences had been upheld by the Supreme Court. So 2 more political prisoners were just executed. So sorry to start the news like this today, but I thought that
is really important. I mean, and again, it's important to speak about this because the Islamic regime is executing innocent Iranians every day. And this is why there's a sense of urgency from the Iranian side, right? Because the longer the Islamic regime is allowed to remain, the more innocent Iranians will lose their lives. And what's really painful is that we're so close to the end. We're so close to the end. So it's just, it makes it that much more difficult when we hear about these executions inside of occupied Iran.
Yeah, exactly. It can't happen soon enough. Another major update that might actually suggest that we're getting closer to this is that the Mujtaba Khamenei allegedly has came out. Well, I mean, I don't know if we don't know if it's from him or not, but he has ordered that the enriched uranium cannot be sent abroad. it has to remain in Iran, which is technically a good news for us.
Yeah.
Which means, because this means that the maneuverability and the flexibility of the regime is very, very low. If now we got another official statement allegedly from Mujtaba Khamenei, that means there is no wiggle room. That means one way or another, because we have to put this next to the fact that one way or another, President Trump wants the enriched uranium. And like, if you put this, we just got a recent breaking news that we could put these two news next to each other. Let me see the breaking news that we just had. I mean, Iran International claims that this was just breaking news. If I could find it. Oh, I didn't start it. Let me actually read this. I think it's actually on Iran International English, so I could just open it here. If I could. Oh, no, that. Well, okay, so there was the breaking news. Oh, here, found it. So this was from 1 hour ago. So breaking, President Donald Trump told reporters the United States will get the highly enriched uranium stockpiles from Iran. He said, we will get it. We don't need it. We don't want it. We'll probably destroy it after we get it, but we're not going to let them have it. So the distance between this statement from President Trump and this statement from Mujtaba Khamenei means that suggests that there is no way a deal could happen, right? Because the Islamic Republic cannot back down from this position. It's just as simple as that. The Islamic Republic cannot back down from this position, and United States cannot back down from this position, right? That means war. That means war is inevitable.
Yeah, because this has always been one of the red lines of President Trump. And
yes.
It was in one of his statements, I think it was last week, where he even said that, Iran has agreed to allow America to go in and get the enriched uranium. He said that. And then afterwards, the Islamic regime denied that. So, and then President Trump said, you say one thing and then you go and you do another thing. So I think President Trump is realizing that you cannot negotiate with terrorists. So
exactly.
Like this is a red line. And here's the thing, like, I don't know why some people think that this is something President Trump will budge on, because he's never going to budge on his red line, which is the Islamic regime cannot have a nuclear weapon. Meanwhile, the Islamic regime is trying to build a nuclear weapon. So just on that, I don't ever actually see a deal being made.
Exactly. And not only they want to make sure that the regime doesn't get a nuclear weapon, J.D. Vance confirmed that they want to make sure that it could never get a nuclear weapon, even after President Trump is not in office anymore, which means that the only deal that would be acceptable needs to be a deal that is so humiliating to the regime. If it's supposed to guarantee that they will never get a nuclear weapon even after President Trump is in office, it needs to be a deal that is so humiliating to the regime that will be the end of them. That means that it would have to be a surrender deal, not a temporary pause on the enrichment of uranium. Because any temporary pause on enrichment of uranium could be undone once President Trump is out of office. So if we go with what even J.D. Vance says, that is not going to be good enough. And, and if we read this statement, it says, Iran's Supreme Leader Mujtaba Khamenei has ordered that the country's near weapons-grade uranium not be sent abroad, Reuters reported on Thursday, citing two senior Iranian sources. The Supreme Leader's directive and the consensus within the establishment. Oh my God, that's so good. That means that they are not at all flexible. This also shows that Vahidi is in charge. And the consensus within the establishment is that the stockpile of enriched uranium should not leave the country, one of the sources told Reuters. The sources said Iranian officials believe sending the material abroad will make the country more vulnerable to future U.S. or Israeli attacks. I mean, they're not wrong. and this is something else that we have to be happy about, because if, for example, in a crazy hypothetical situation, if the Islamic regime gets rid of gives the Americans the enriched uranium, that is them giving up the last good remaining leverage that they have. That means that they are completely naked, and there is nothing that basically they have no protection anymore. So if they get rid of this, that means that the toppling them by even just Israel alone will become so easy after that. So they're completely it's completely true that if a deal is actually reached, hypothetically, and they give this up, that means that following that, the toppling of the regime will become so much easier after that. So their calculations are correct, and that's why they're not giving up the enriched uranium. And then it continues by saying Iran had previously signaled willingness to ship out half of its 60% enriched uranium stockpile, but that position changed after repeated threats by U.S. President Donald Trump to strike Iran. According to the report, one source said there were still feasible formulas to resolve the issue, including diluting the stockpile under International Atomic Energy Agency supervision. So yeah, this basically all shows that we're so far away from a deal happening, so we don't have to be worried about that as much, at least not right now. And so let's go to President Trump's recent statements, the most updated statements on Iran. And President Trump had this speech in the White House. He had some talks in the White House with reporters, but I want to just focus only on the Iran related part. So let's go with this one first.
Can they keep their highly enriched uranium?
No, we get the highly enriched. We will get it. We don't need it. We don't want it. We'll probably destroy it after we get it, but we're not going to let them have it.
Can they keep their highly enriched?
So this is fantastic. That means that the dilution is not an option. Giving it to Russia is not an option. The only option is giving it to Americans. Something that Mujtaba, at least the said position, the official position of the Islamic Republic, that they communicate that that's not at all an option for the Islamic Republic, which is good. Which means, guys, the only thing that is on the table is just, boom booms. And then there was another statement from President Trump here.
Right now we're negotiating, and we'll see. But either we're going to get it one way or the other. They're not going to have a nuclear weapon. When people hear it, because oftentimes they won't put up the second part of the sentence having to do with, I'll say, this is more important than anything that we have to talk about. And usually they'll cut it off, the fake news. I said, because this is the nuclearization of a country that some people would say is somewhat crazy. And we cannot let Iran have a nuclear weapon. That's all it is. We can't let it. You will have a nuclear war in the Middle East, and that war will come here. That war will go to Europe. We cannot let that happen, and it won't happen. It's not going to happen. That's more important than anything else. We can't. I can think of nothing that's more important than the fact that we cannot let Iran have a nuclear weapon, and we won't. Right now, we're negotiating.
Okay, that was another point. Let's see if there was any other Iran-related ones, because I heard this is Cuba. This is not Iran. I think that was the last Iran.
Those are the only ones that Rapid Response posted. But during the entire, Q&A, at one point he does say the Iran conflict will end soon, very soon, and when it ends, your gasoline prices will go down lower than they were before. So that's Iran International English posted that quote from him. So he says that at some point, but I think we only see some of the few clips here.
Here's a clip from Fox News. I don't know if it's a repeat of what we saw or it's or not. Let me just play it and see if it's a repeat.
We have total control of the Strait of Hormuz, as you know, with our blockade. The blockade's been 100% effective. Nobody's been able to get through. It's like a steel wall. It's our Navy. We have the greatest military anywhere in the world. We wiped out their Navy. We not wiped out their air. I think they're down to about I would say we knocked out 85% of their missile capacity. It's very hard for them now.
Wait, how many percent?
I would say we knocked out 85% of their missile capacity. It's very hard for them now to build missiles, to build drones. We have great drone technology, anti-drone technology now that, frankly, we didn't have even 2 months ago. We have unbelievable drone technology, both for making them and also for knocking them down. But look, we're going to either make sure they don't have a nuclear weapon, or we're going to have to do something very drastic. And the people of the country, I believe when it's put to the people of our country, they will all agree that we cannot let Iran have a nuclear weapon. We have total.
So yeah, that was another segment that was not cut by rapid response. We have some updates from Marco Rubio, which I think would be interesting to listen to. I have 2 cuts, but I don't know if they're the same. So let's go through them really quickly.
I think we've made some progress, but obviously we're dealing with a system that itself is a little fractured. So the Iranian system, and so, but that said, there'll be a couple visits. I understand, I believe the Pakistanis will be traveling to Tehran today, so hopefully that'll advance this further. The president's preference is to do a good deal. That's his preference. It's always been his preference. If we can get a good deal done, that would be great. I'm not here to tell you that it's going to happen for sure, but I'm here to tell you that we're going to do everything we can to see if we can get one. But if we can't get a good deal, the president's been clear. He has other options. I'm not going to elaborate on what those are, but everybody knows what those are. But his preference is always a deal. His preference is always an agreement. His preference is always diplomacy. So let's see if we can get there. There's some good signs, but we understand this. I don't want to be overly optimistic as well. So let's see what happens over the next few days. I think we've made.
I mean, I don't actually see any signs of a good deal being in. I understand though why they have to say that, but like in reality, there is no signs of a good deal being possible. But again, this is just politicians, because you don't want to come off as, you know, too eager for war. You have to demonstrate that you tried, exhausted all other ways before you go to war. That's what you should be doing. I don't know if this is the same segment or not. Let me just take a look.
Iranian state media suggesting that the U.S. proposals close some of the gaps, or is potentially closing gaps.
Yeah. Well, I don't want to get ahead of it. Here's. I think we've made some progress, but obviously we're dealing with a system that itself is a little.
Okay, so it is the same segment. So we have some really good interviews on Fox News. Yeah, Trey always does a good job in giving us the latest updates. So
yeah, I really like Trey. Trey, like I appreciate him a lot.
Yeah, he's awesome. He's awesome. So I think we should listen to his segment on this. Yeah. Okay.
So here we go.
Oh my God! This picture. I don't know if you guys saw this. The Islamic Republic is redefining what the Strait of Hormuz means. So, guys, traditionally, Strait of Hormuz is that blue area. Okay, but the Islamic Republic is now saying that we want absolute control over the Strait of Hormuz, and they also redefined what Strait of Hormuz means. So now apparently the Strait of Hormuz means the blue area plus the red area. So this is the new definition of the Strait of Hormuz.
So here we go.
Iran is attempting, what said Ainsley in the script?
Right, yes.
I'm back on here. Okay. Iran is attempting to tighten its grip on global shipping, establishing a controlled maritime zone in the Strait of Hormuz.
But President Trump insists the U.S. still holds the card, saying he's in no rush to make a deal with Tehran.
All right, let's get to it. Chief Foreign Correspondent Trey Yingst is live on the ground in Tel Aviv with more. Good morning, Trey.
Yeah, hey guys, good morning. Iran's foreign ministry says they are reviewing a new U.S. proposal. This comes as Pakistan's interior minister made a last-minute trip to the Iranian capital of Tehran for talks aimed at...
Guys, if in the middle of negotiations with Araghchi, we get boom booms, this would be so funny. Like, this would be so humiliating. I think the pro-regime Iranians would be like, Araghchi, like, what the hell? Like, what is the point of you? Like, you were fooled 3 times. Like, how many times do the Americans have to fool you before you realize that these negotiations are just, just mind games? it would be so funny if the Islamic Republic falls for a trap by the Americans, the same exact trap 3 times. Like, I think the pro-regime Iranians will never forgive them if this happens again, for being so easy to fool.
Moving a possible agreement forward. Iran's foreign minister spoke yesterday with a warning for the United States.
Should it become necessary, should the interests of the state dictate that we prepare ourselves in the field of diplomacy, of discussion, of negotiation, then we will prepare ourselves, but with strength, the same strength with which the armed forces prepare themselves in defense of the country.
President Trump says he's in no hurry to make a deal since the U.S. naval blockade is causing significant economic damage to Iran and weakening the regime. He indicated the war could resume quickly if Iran doesn't respond well to this proposal.
We're all ready to go. We have to get the right answers. We're dealing with some people, and we're dealing, actually, I must tell you, we're dealing with some very good people. We're dealing with people that are, I think, far more reasonable than the people that are really no longer with us.
With a focus.
It's interesting because President Trump, every time he says that these people are insane, it seems like he's getting ready to attack. And every time he says that these are, these are good people, these are people who are more reasonable, it seems like there's a need for some more time to prepare, militarily prepare. One thing, but by the way, guys, one theory is that they were getting ready for attack. But even though United States and Israel were ready, the Arab countries around the Persian Gulf, they said that they need more defense. And that's why there is a delay. So United States was completely ready to go all out and, do boom booms across Iran to take out regime assets. Israel was also ready to go. But the Arab countries, some Arab countries came to President Trump, not Qatar doesn't want any war, but like maybe UAE and Saudi Arabia are like, okay, we are not protected well enough for this. Before you go to all out war, give us more protection or give us more time to prepare ourselves for defense before you do this. And that might explain the current delay and why President Trump is also going back onto saying these people are reasonable. Let me know in the chat if you agree with this theory. That's the reason behind this new delay, for more defense for these Arab countries.
On Iran's nuclear.
Look at this. Somebody, an Iranian, is saying in the chat, "Hameh dar Iran muntazir hamla hastan." So he's saying everybody in Iran is waiting for an attack.
Program and the Strait of Hormuz, the Islamic Republic recently created what they call the Persian Gulf Strait Authority to force vessels to coordinate directly with Iran in order to pass through the strait. Iran is still playing games as it relates to these negotiations, and there are real questions as the clock is ticking. Guys?
So, Trey, what could you tell us about the conversation President Trump had with Bibi Netanyahu on Tuesday, where we understand it's so unusual? For the most part, the Prime Minister's office has not put out any statement. And the president really hasn't vehemently denied that they got angry at each other.
Yeah, Axios is coming up and making claims again that there was a giant fight between Prime Minister Netanyahu and President Trump. And I don't know, Axios is like turning into a, drama, tablet or something. Like they're just like making everything coming up. I think they're going for views more than accuracy.
Yeah, it's become a lot more like clickbait.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly. Texas thing. Axios is gossip rag.
Yeah, reports indicate there was a lengthy, intense conversation between President Trump and the Israeli leader, Prime Minister Netanyahu, as it relates to what comes next in the region. And remember, yesterday, we heard from administration officials who indicated the United States is locked and loaded. Well, the Israelis are also locked and loaded, and there is coordination, I'm told by regional sources, at the highest level between these two countries in preparation for combat operations to resume. But look, there are two separate goals here, and this is really a crossroads for the region. We have to look at the goals of the United States and the goals of the Israelis. And they are similar but different because Israel understands that the Iranians pose a much more direct regional threat as it relates to their proxies in places like southern Lebanon, inside Gaza, and in Yemen. And the United States is looking at the country's nuclear program as the largest threat. And so,
yeah, at the end of the day, they result into the same conclusion, right? So for Israel, the Islamic Republic is an existential crisis because of its proxies and its missiles. For the United States, it's about the nuclear program, and ballistic missiles that could reach allies of the United States. But it doesn't really matter, in my opinion, that Israel is more concerned about this and the United States is more concerned about that, because the solution to both of them is only regime change. The solution to what Israel is concerned about is only regime change. And the solution to what the United States is concerned about is only regime change. So their priorities might not be aligned, but the solutions to their priorities is completely aligned. By the way, in half an hour, we will be reading super chats, if there's enough of them.
you have things like ballistic missiles that are on the table for negotiations, but you also have these proxy groups that the Israelis want addressed if there is a broader agreement. And so the United States and Israel are not against a deal with Iran. They're against the wrong deal with Iran, but the wrong deal is different based on who you talk to. And so there are major questions about the days ahead and what that coordination will look like. But officials here say, despite some of those disagreements, both Israel and the United States remain on the same page as it relates to the threat from Iran.
Well, Trey, the president has been public about it. Essentially, we're not even getting past 0.1 of a deal.
Yeah, President Trump is not going to accept a limited deal with Iran. He's been very clear he's not willing to make concessions with the Iranian regime as it relates to their nuclear program, that highly enriched uranium, or the Strait of Hormuz. And this is a different approach than the Iranians are used to. You think back to the Obama administration when ultimately a deal was reached and pallets of cash were delivered to the Iranian regime. They used that cash to fund the military program that they are using to threaten U.S. forces and allies today. President Trump doesn't want that to happen.
President Obama funded October 7th. Please never let that be forgotten. The cash that Obama released to the regime in Iran funded October 7th. Never, ever let that be forgotten.
Happen. He understands the Iranians are trying to play a long game here. They're trying to wait out the United States, but the president has strategic patience at the negotiating table and on the battlefield. And so we're in a critical window here.
Guys, it's really really hard to imagine, that after so many years of President Trump attacking Obama for this, for releasing funds to the regime in Iran that directly went to supporting terrorist proxy groups of the regime that killed Israelis and Americans, that President Trump will go ahead and do the same thing. It's so hard to imagine that happening. And that's why we think that a deal seems impossible.
This is a window negotiating table and on the battlefield. And so we're in a critical window here. This is a window where two choices have to be made by the Iranians. Are they willing to go into deeper negotiations with a good faith memorandum of understanding?
Which they never will. Like they're never going to negotiate in good faith. They don't do that. That's what President Trump has pretty much been telling everyone.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, he says that we talked to them and they agreed to something, and then the day after they forget about it.
Where two choices have to be made by the Iranians. Are they willing to go into deeper negotiations with a good faith memorandum of understanding with the United States, or do they want the war to resume? These are two options here, and the president has been clear the United States military remains on high alert if strikes are ordered against the regime. And so these days are going to be tense across the region. and Israeli air defense systems remain on high alert, understanding that if this war does resume, the Iranians are likely to launch more ballistic missiles here.
So Trey, I find this so fascinating, this idea that, you know, the Israel and the United States both want to make sure there's no nuclear Iran, but ultimately there is daylight between the end game for America and the end game for Israel. The president has many advisors around him. What are they saying? What are they advising? I know one of the concerns that I've heard is that sometimes we have someone we're negotiating with, and then our partner Israel will kill that person, and now we don't have anyone to negotiate with. Talk to me about that problem, but also where you think President Trump's advisors are on wrapping this up as quickly as possible with a deal that satisfies the president versus Israel, who perhaps has a goal or an incentive to continue, and as you said, they have a more existential threat.
So here's another thing when it comes to Israel and United States. As I mentioned, they're more aligned than many people assume, given that the solution to their priorities is the same thing. However, politically, Israel is more free than United States. So militarily, United States is way more powerful than Israel. But politically, Israel is a lot more free than United States, because politically in Israel, there's more agreement on what it needs to be done against the Islamic Republic. But in United States, we have the Democrats, right? So there's division within the politics of United States on what needs to be done, but we don't have that division within Israel.
President Trump has been quite clear-eyed on the threat from the Iranian regime. Remember, the Iranians, before Operation Epic Fury, came to the negotiating table and they told U.S. Special Envoy Steve Witkoff they had enough highly enriched uranium at 60% purity to quickly go to 90% and create 11 nuclear bombs. That was the opening position of the Iranian regime. They could create 11 nuclear bombs. And the president took them at face value because he also understands the country's ballistic missile program that they're trying to expand the range for, that we saw during that operation was targeting Gulf countries and U.S. ally Israel. But when we look at what the president is being told, he has a lot of advisors. He has top generals who are giving him information about the realities on the ground. And he is being patient because this is not a light decision to make. When you think about what would happen if the president orders renewed strikes against the Iranian regime, the Iranians do not escalate on a vertical escalation ladder. They escalate on a horizontal ladder because they are in a situation where they know they cannot defeat the U.S. military. There is air superiority over the skies of Iran when President Trump orders strikes. And as a result, they escalate around the Gulf and against U.S. ally Israel. Guys?
All right. Thanks so much, Trey. I'll put it in perspective. I mean, the one thing they all agree on, you got to get the uranium out, and they have to go to zero enrichment. Those two things aren't close. The only thing they might, in terms of funding the proxies,
and none of that would happen by the regime. None of it. I mean, guys, let's just focus on one thing. You know, let's forget the support for proxies for a second. Let's forget about the range of the ballistic missiles. Let's forget about. I mean, we shouldn't forget that, but like just like for a second, let's just try to hyper focus on one thing. Let's even forget about whether or not the Islamic Republic will be allowed to enrich uranium going forward, right? Forget about that. Just the already existing enriched uranium inside Iran, the 60% enriched uranium, right? That Araghchi confirmed that you could make up to 11 nuclear bombs already with that. Just on that alone, right? There is no wiggle room. There is no flexibility by the regime, and there is no flexibility by President Trump, and for the regime side, there is no flexibility because they tied their own hands by the radical, crazy pro-regime people they have created that would not tolerate anything less than keeping all the enriched uranium. So they tied their own hands, and because President Trump won't, so the Islamic Republic can't, and President Trump won't, and that means there's a huge gap that can't be bridged, and that means that the only solution is to go in and finish the job militarily.
They could say they're not going to fund the proxies, but they're going to. It's almost impossible unless you change regimes for them to track all the money going there. You can curtail it, but if Hezbollah and Hamas are going to get funded, it's going to come from Iran.
We can't pretend that there aren't domestic concerns happening here. We have gas prices, we have a midterm election. There's a goal, but in the back of the president's head, he's a human being, he's a leader. He's got domestic concerns that are not the same concerns as Israel.
But if you look at if this operation is deemed to be futile and it ends wrong, that'll be worse than domestic concerns. So
right. Yes, that's actually, he makes a good point. What's his name, right? Even if you're looking at domestic concerns, the political costs associated with going in and doing all of this military operations and have nothing to show for. You don't have the enriched uranium out. You didn't get the Islamic Republic to abandon enrichment of uranium. You didn't open the Strait of Hormuz. Whatever political cost you think is you could to high oil prices, or the continuation of military operations are with the Islamic Republic, whatever the cost of domestic cost, political cost is internally in the United States, is insignificant compared to the political cost associated with President Trump saying that we're going to go do this and then not achieving that. That would be more of a cost to President Trump, and that's why President Trump will finish the job, needs to finish the job here. And then we have another update here. These are some really good. Okay, so yeah, this general guy, what's his name? He also gives us sometimes some good insights. So let's watch this one. So guys, in 20 minutes, we're going to be reading super chats. And thank you for all your support.
So President Trump insists the U.S. still holds the cards with Iran, claiming he is in no rush to make a deal. This as the White House pushes back on a new report from Reuters, which claims Iran's supreme leader issued new directives saying the country's nuclear materials must stay in Iran.
I mean, thank you. Mujtaba, you actually are useful for something. I thought, I didn't know that cardboard had this use case. But I'm so appreciative of Ayatollah Mujtaba Khamenei, who's not an Ayatollah. Never forget that. He never got the credentials to be an Ayatollah. Fake Ayatollah Mujtaba Khamenei. Gayatollah, as some people call him. Thank you so much for further limiting the maneuverability of the regime when it comes to these negotiations. That actually works in our favor. So thank you for that.
Discusses retired four-star general, Fox News senior strategic analyst, General Jack Keane. General, the administration is pushing back on what the Supreme Leader said. I don't know what that means, but essentially the Supreme Leader says the nuclear material stays. What are you hearing?
Well, I don't think that makes any sense. I think what I've heard is likely transferred to a third party. And certainly the Iranians want to keep enrichment for civilian purposes used, quote unquote. You know, the 3.67% that was in the JCPOA, the Obama deal. I can't imagine that being acceptable to the administration, because you give them any capability to enrich uranium, they can expand that into weapons grade uranium at some point, which obviously is their intent. So there's a lot more to be seen here in terms of what a good deal looks like. But my problem with the deal here is that we leave Iran bruised but intact, and they'll walk away from here citing and convincing themselves that they got the United States to back down.
Yeah, this would be, if you get it. So that's actually a good point. Okay, so if you get a deal, which is really hard to see how, it's true that it would be bad for the regime, that it would be extremely humiliating that they accepted any of the terms of United States. However, one thing that the Islamic Republic can do to win among its base of support, to act tough, to suggest that to fight against the humiliation, is to say, to keep, this is what I would do if I was the Islamic Republic. I would basically go on use all my propaganda apparatus, the state TV, the Mad DOS, the pro-regime YouTube channels, my bots on X, all of it. Everything, I would, whatever budget I have for propaganda, I would 10x it I would 10x it and focus on one narrative and one narrative only, that the Americans came to topple the regime and now they left and the regime is still intact. That means we won, they lost. That's how the regime would try to distract to its own pro-regime supporters, distract away from the fact that they accepted some of the American terms. That's what he's pointing out here. So this is actually very accurate. Listen to him again. Let's go back a little bit.
But intact, and they'll walk their intent. So there's a lot more to be seen here in terms of what a good deal looks like. But my problem with a deal here is that we leave Iran bruised but intact, and they'll walk away from here citing and convincing themselves that they got the United States to back down. And as a result...
So think about how effective that narrative could be for the Islamic Republic. The greatest powers of the world, the greatest powers out of the world, the greatest economies, the greatest militaries, the greatest firepower, the greatest technology, showed up to our shores to topple us, and they couldn't. That means Allah is on our side. That means that we are being protected by unseen forces. That means we are on the right side of history and they're not. That's what the narrative would be.
Of that, we extend a lifeline to the regime for sure, for them to do what? To recover. And in the deal, the unfrozen assets are about $100 billion. It's likely we're going to take some part of that and give that to them up front and also reduce some of the sanctions. And certainly we're going to monitor their behavior. But nonetheless, it is a lifeline to the regime that extends them for years to come. The next administration is going to wind up having to deal with them. That's not where we started. Remember, we started to weaken this regime, to devastate and take away their capabilities to be a predator in the region, support the proxies, for sure, and obviously not have any nuclear capability whatsoever, and reduce this ballistic missile program quite substantially. And the idea was to weaken the regime, and militarily and also economically, that at some point it's on a pathway to collapse. And we're going to leave that up to the Iranian people to assist them in doing just that. But if we cut a deal here with giving them unfrozen assets, billions and billions of dollars, that enables them to recover and it extends their lifeline. That's not where I think where we started.
Not only would they be able to recover, they have learned what deterrence works at what cost, right? So based on all of the experience that the Islamic Republic gathered from the war and the ceasefire and the Iranian people uprising, it would do a cost-benefit analysis and figure out the things that it had spent a lot of money on and didn't work for defending it, and the things that it spent less money on but were more effective at defending it, right? So it would readjust the strategy on how to cause trouble in the Strait of Hormuz, because it calculates that from a return on investment perspective, it takes little to cause, threats to the commercial ships there. It would look at its oppression and killing of the Iranian people and the armed forces that shot into the crowds and the ones that didn't, and who they could buy at a lower price with a more effective strategy to continue the suppression. It will do that. And basically, at the end of the day, it knows that if this war is abandoned, then its lifespan will become much higher, because if this military operation is abandoned, even though I know like the Israelis will never abandon attacking the Islamic Republic, and the Americans would have to come back again at some point because the threat is not going away, but the cost of coming back and redoing this will be so much higher, because there's a lot of recovery and learning that the Islamic Republic could do until the next military operation. So that's why so many people are trying to make the point that given that you already have all of this military asset here, and given that the Islamic Republic is at the weakest that it has ever been, do not abandon this. Finish the job. The cost of having to come back to here is so high, so high. This is the greatest opportunity that we have ever had to finish the job with the Islamic Republic. The Islamic Republic has never been weaker, and we never had this much firepower against the Islamic Republic in the region. If this is not the opportunity that we're going to take advantage of to take the Islamic Republic down, the next opportunity will be a lot costlier than the one that we have right now in front of us.
On this thing, it seems to me that we've been trying to get a deal for 6 weeks now. The military operation would largely have been over by now, and certainly some of the pressure that the administration feels would have been quite removed by that point, in my judgment. So, and where we are now is we can't seem to get a deal. I think we need to go back to where we started from, renew our commitment to the original goals of the regime, and conduct this combined operation with the Israelis and the United States. We're at full magazine depth. We have exquisite intelligence over the last 6 weeks of what we need to do and where we need to do it. And the attacks are going to be quite devastating in terms of reducing their capabilities for the future.
So, General, we got it. So do you think that he's getting fully briefed? From your best your estimate, does he have the confidence that you have that we could pull this off? And I understand the worry is about the Arab states and their energy sector. But we've had time to bulk it up, and the upside seems much more important than the risk on the downside. Do you think the president has changed his mind, or there are people around him telling him that this deal is good enough? Because it sounds worse than the JCPOA.
Well, I don't think the president's going to accept a bad deal. I truly believe he's the backstop here. So,
okay, if President Trump, I agree with that. It doesn't seem likely that President Trump is going to accept a bad deal. And if we just accept that premise, then the only solution is military operations to topple the regime, because the Islamic regime is in a situation where it cannot actually give the Americans a good deal.
That's number one. Number two, yes, there likely is concern about Iran's ability to retaliate against oil and Gulf infrastructure of our allies and partners. They had plenty of opportunity for 5 weeks to do that, and they were not effective at doing that. If we need to bulk up their defenses, certainly we have the capability to do that. We've done that for Israel. Israel asked us to assist with their defense. And we have done that, and done that quite effectively. And I'm confident if that's needed here to assist our allies and partners to protect their oil and gas infrastructure, we can do it. The other thing is, let's give some credit to what the military operation will do in reducing their ability to retaliate. We're almost looking at this thing as if we don't lay a glove on them. And they're going to be able to fire missiles and drones at all of that capability and destroy it and hit desalination plants. But we're going to take a lot of that capability away from them rather quickly and reduce.
Yeah, exactly. And if you're worried about the Islamic Republic doing this or doing that, or closing the Strait of Hormuz, or attacking desalination plants, or I don't know, whatever threats that you're afraid of, then that's actually an argument for regime change, not an argument against it. Because if you don't do regime change, one way or another, the Islamic regime in Iran will get nuclear weapons, and then the next time they do all of this, they will do it with absolute immunity, knowing nobody is going to do anything about it. Guys, one thing that you have to understand, everybody has to understand this: if the Islamic regime survives, they will eventually become a nuclear weapon country. They will be that, especially now, because they have no other meaningful deterrence.
That effective. And plus, they have defenses of their own. Give you an example. The UAE's got 19 Patriot batteries. 19. In addition to the Iron Dome capability that the Israelis gave them. I don't know exactly what the number is on the Saudis, but they have effective defenses. If they need more of it, I think we can help them do that.
And the UAE.
The problem with the UAE is that they're so close to I mean, it's really hard to defend completely against the Islamic Republic missiles and drones. Even with this defense system, is because I mean, the Iron Dome really helps actually with that, the ones that Israel give them. But UAE is just so easy to target by the Islamic Republic.
Is on board. Saudi Arabia might be pushing back a little bit, but they also don't want an emboldened Iran. And on the other side, Qatar seems to play both sides. And obviously, we know where Israel stands. So I just think to leave it now so close to finishing off one of this world's real cancers is really an opportunity that we might not get back. And I'd hate to see it for political reasons. So, General, I hope the president's talking to the right people.
It's really interesting that they're using the same language, right? That we've been using for a while. You know, it's a cancer. It needs to be removed. It has to be eradicated, right? And the important thing about using terminology like cancer is that, the one thing that we all know about cancer is that if you don't get rid of every single cancer cell, it will come back. So the Islamic regime is the exact same way. If you weaken it, it will come back. It will get stronger again. So the only way to get rid of the Islamic regime is the only way to eliminate the threat is to get rid of the Islamic regime altogether, just the same way that you would with cancer cells. You're on mute.
That is a very good observation, Goldie. And, now that you talk about that analogy, another way that is resembling cancer cells is that to get rid of cancer cells, sometimes you have to harm the rest of the body, right? So that's another. So two ways the Islamic Republic is like cancer cells. One, like Goldie said, is that if you leave any behind, they will come back. That's one. But number two is chemotherapy hurts your body, but you do it because you have to remove the cancer cell. So if you see infrastructure being destroyed or collateral damage, that's exactly like chemotherapy. You go through chemotherapy even though it kills some of your normal, healthy, functional cells.
Yeah.
Exactly.
We'll see what develops because the Supreme Leader seems pretty dug in. He's not budging. So if that's the case, how could we possibly do a deal?
Yeah. Well, we'll see what.
See,
comes
like
of this.
like
One, the
Armin,
president's not gonna-
Armin. So now they're basically saying what you and I have been saying for a very long time on Iran Revolution Live, where how could we possibly even do a deal if they're not going to budge? So even like the mainstream media now, they're starting to lay the foundation and sort of prepare people, and they're basically now sharing that narrative that we have been putting out, that you cannot make a deal with them because the terms of the deal would essentially be surrender, and the Islamic regime is not going to do that. So there is not going to be a deal. And the other thing as well is people keep on forgetting. I don't know why we have to remind people of this every single day. The only deal that President Trump is interested in is unconditional surrender. And there are certain objectives that President Trump wants in that deal, right? No nuclear enrichment, going and taking the nuclear dust, reduction and limitation of the ballistic missiles, opening up the Strait of Hormuz, and ending support for their proxy terrorist groups. None of those 5 conditions have been met. Not a single one of those conditions have been met. In fact, Ghani was in Iraq, presumably to meet with the Islamic regime's terrorist proxy forces in Iraq. So when you look at those 5 conditions, not a single one of them have been met, and President Trump has not budged on those.
Exactly. And not only none of them have been met, they are putting conditions themselves that they say they're not negotiable, which are ridiculous, which are the most insane requests that they have from United States, including requests that United States can't even give. Like, even if they wanted to, we're going to be controlling the Strait of Hormuz forever now. That's not even that condition that they put in the terms. United States can't even agree to that because it's not for United States to give that. The whole world would be against that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. we're okay. So guys, we're 2 minutes to super chat time. So before we go to super chat time, I wanted to show this lovely video that is going to make Goldie go which is the regime bringing in more people, more Shia, importing more Shia from outside, from outside of Iran.
Is it all the jihadis? Is it the jihadis from Africa?
Well,
oh my
kind of,
god.
yes. Okay, so watch this, Goldie. I want to see Goldie's reaction to this. Okay, look at this. And they, guys, these are from they have spent years teaching them Persian. Okay, so they mentioned the countries they're from, and look, they all speak Persian. The Islamic Republic went to Africa, the poorest countries on earth, to take advantage of the poverty there, so that they with very little money teach Shiism and Persian to bring these people from Africa into Iran. Again, guys, we're not against them because they're from Africa. This is against the Islamic Republic taking advantage of the poverty in Africa to try to spend very, very little money to re-engineer the demographics into Iran to make it more religious. Okay, so they mentioned, listen to this, they mentioned the countries they're from.
از کدوم کشوری؟ عمان، سنگال، کنیا، بورکینا فاسو، ساحل عاج، بورکینا فاسو، نیجریه، تانزانیا، کنگو، مالی. نیجریه. جمله به دشمنان جمهوری اسلامی. من وطن فروش نیستم. تهدید ما را نمی‌ترساند. ما ایستادیم و توفان نمی‌افتد. کشور را همراه با خودشان به خواهند. قوی‌تر از هر تهدید. این ملت معامله شدنی نیست. راه مقاومت ادامه دارد. من وطن فروش نیستم. زنده با جمهوری اسلامی. ایران تنها بماند. ما فرزندان حیدریم. ما اماممون کسیه که در خیبر رو از جا کنده. شما که عددی نیست. صدای ما صدای عدالت است. ما تا آخر کنار ولایت میمانیم. ما فرزندان قدیم. ما نمک نشناس نیستیم. فرزندان قدیم هستیم. قلب ما سنگر ولایت است. پرچم جمهوری اسلامی همیشه بالاست. ما فرزندان رهبر هستیم. از قدیم تا ظهور یک تخت باقی است.
ما وطن فروش نیستیم. This is not your وطن.
That's not even your country. You, oh my gosh.
Okay.
Oh, guys, so do you see how the Islamic regime is literally engaging in like population replacement? Like, guys, we don't have anything against immigrants, but the audacity, but this is how Islamic invasion works. This is how jihad works. The audacity for these foreigners to go to Iran and then say we support the Islamic Republic and we're not traitors to our country. It's not your country. It's not your country. Oh my gosh, it's crazy. Like, do you see the insanity that we Iranians have to deal with on a daily basis? Like, it's disgusting. That's why we call the Islamic regime a foreign occupation. It's a foreign invasion.
Yeah. Wow. Exactly, Goldie. Okay, so guys, it's super chat time. Wait, let me remove this. There we go. Oh, it didn't kick me out. I wonder why. Usually when I click on that layout, I get kicked out. So guys, thank you so much for all the super chat. We really appreciate your support. It's also an opportunity for us to respond to you guys and see what you guys think. Okay, so Kuda started us off by saying, time for another great show. Let's go. Make Iran great again. Make America great again. Miga maga. Like, love that. Thank you, Kuda. Thank you for your support. And then we have Willow. Willow just became a member. Thank you so much for being a member and supporting the channel. Really appreciate that. And then we have
Armin. Can I go to a super chat from
yes,
one
of
my
course,
viewers on Rumble?
Of
So
course,
one of our viewers. So Tulkor says the fact that we're talking about a delay is all a PR job. Trump didn't need to say our attack has been delayed because no one needed to know it was even coming. So it's all part of a plan. Yeah, I agree with you on that 100%, Tulkor. I think, President Trump said that for a reason. And, there's multiple theories behind that. But I agree. Like, this is all about the psychological warfare against the Islamic regime. So thank you for that. Okay.
Thank you. Thank you for supporting us. And then we have 2032 Sherry saying, Durud, patriotic Durud, patriotic, peaceful people around the world, with a heart emoji. Sorry, guys, I didn't have enough sleep. I'll try to get more sleep next time. And thank you, Sherry, for supporting us. And then look at this. Amir went to Goldie's channel to give 5 membership gifts, and to Liberty Politics to give. Amir just hops around on both channels and gives us both membership gifts to the people in the chat. So 10 more people. Thank you, Amir. So 10 more people are now members on Liberty Politics and Goldie Ghamari's channel. Thank you for that. Let me remove these stars so we have less stars. Fantastic. Okay, and then we have Roman Viking. Roman Viking saying, can you pronounce the AI in Ukrainian okay as I in high? Okay, high. Okay. So I think you're Slav. Let me see. How do you Slava Ukraine I? Slava Ukraine I? Is that how you say it? How do you say it, Goldie? Slava.
No, what he means is that when you say Ukraine, don't say Ukraine. Pronounce it the way you would the I in high. So Ukraine. So it would be Slava Ukraine.
Okay, but I heard. So how do you say the very end? Ukraine, because I hear people putting an A at the end. Slava Ukraine.
Ukraine. I've heard Ukraine. Slava Ukraine. Ukraine.
Slava Ukraine.
Yeah,
Slava
that's how I've
Ukraine.
heard it.
Ukraine. Okay. Well, thank you, guys. I will eventually get it right. So just be patient with me. I will practice, but it will take a while. But I will get it right. And thank you so much for Roman Viking. Ukraine. Oh, Ukraine. Slava Ukraine. Okay. We'll get it right one day, one of these days. Kuda, thank you so much for the super chat. Thank you guys for being so generous. Saying the new drawing for the Strait is to try to control the new UAE pipeline. Oh, yeah. Oh, that's such a good point. Yes, because you're right. Oh my God, I wish I had that drawing ready. You are so correct. Yeah, here. Oh, you're so correct. Okay. Look, guys. Kuda, great observation. So if the regime is only controlling this area, and because that's the official definition of the Strait of Hormuz, that means that, let me remove the super chat. That means that the UAE's pipeline here will be able to bypass the blockade on the Strait of Hormuz. The UAE has a pipeline here that basically goes to the Gulf of Oman, bypassing the Strait of Hormuz. So the Islamic Republic, look at it. It basically ends exactly where the UAE's border ends. Okay. They want to remove the entirety of UAE's access to the Gulf of Oman. You're so right. It basically, they drew the line exactly at the UAE Gulf of Oman border. Like, oh my God. So yeah, UAE will have zero access to the Gulf of Oman, meaning that they will not be able to bypass the Strait of Hormuz. That's true. Oh my God. Great observation. Thank you for bringing that to our attention. Thank you, Kuda. Wow, guys, we get super chats and get educated and at the same time.
It's great. We have a fantastic community, Armin. We're really lucky. The Iran Revolution Live community is, I think it's the best community on YouTube. Or anywhere, really. Because on Rumble as well, the community on Rumble is also fantastic, and on X as well. So just the community in general.
From wherever you're watching Iran Revolution Live, you are the best community. Yes. Thank you guys for being here. We appreciate you. And then we go to Bill Zor. Okay, I'm just going to say Bill. Bills is saying unconditional surrender. That's the deal. Exactly. Nothing short of unconditional surrender will be accepted. And then we have Sarah. Sarah saying, hey, Sarah. Sarah saying, after the regime is eliminated, when is the earliest we can expect internet connectivity? Right away? Is it just a switch to be turned on? It is, my understanding, it is that it is a switch to be turned off technically. Okay, right? Because the internet infrastructure is there, they're just blocking it. So maybe I'm wrong about this, but it's really immediate. It's really immediate. Because all of the infrastructure, you know why it's immediate? Because we know pro-regime people have the white SIM card, the ones that we call bloody SIM cards, and they have really good internet. So we know all of the infrastructure. So the internet infrastructure to give the Iranian people internet is already there. It's just being blocked. So all you have to do is remove the block, and then you will have internet everywhere in Iran. And thank you, Sarah, for reminding us about the internet situation. Because, guys, I hear from Iran that one of their main requests is to keep talking about the internet. So, Sarah, thank you so much for paying attention to that. And then Pan is saying, Durud, Goldie, and Armin, I've been learning Persian since early March. Oh, wow. Impressive. Today I had my first very basic conversation with someone in Persian. What books, movies in Persian should I try? I'm a beginner. Oh, Goldie, wow. That's beautiful. Also, music. You should listen to music. Music is a really good way to learn language. Yeah. What do you suggest? I would suggest a Shahnameh.
Oh yeah, okay, yeah. Let's not go with like the equivalent of William Shakespeare. You know what I would recommend? Panism. I would recommend watching Murad Vaisi's live streams on your laptop or like on your laptop, because you're able to add the subtitles in English, right? So the AI translation. So if you're trying to learn Persian, or you want to practice or communicate, I would say Murad Vaisi would be really great, because he's sort of speaking about contemporary topics. He also speaks slowly and clearly and concisely, and he also gives like good information. And then because of the AI generated translations, that can also kind of help you maybe pick out certain words or practice a little bit more that way. That's sort of my suggestion. I mean, I'm sure that there are YouTube channels online that teach Persian. So that's definitely something to look into. But yeah, that's so cool. Wow.
Can I also make a recommendation? I also suggest Manoto documentaries.
Yeah.
Right, of Iran, right? So, and you could turn on the English subtitle maybe to help you see if you're understanding it. So Manoto has some really beautiful documentaries of the Shah's time, right? So if you just search for Manoto documentary, you will be able to, like, this is a really good one. مستند آریامهر قسمت اول. Okay, so if you get a membership on their channel, you will get a lot of access to some more documentaries. Okay, and I think it's cheap to get a documentary. So yeah, look at these. These are beautiful documentaries. At some point, made some really beautiful documentaries about the Shah's time. I think the best documentaries about the Shah's time are from Manoto. So but the reason why that would be beneficial, along with Goldie's suggestion, is that you're not just learning Persian, you're also learning history, and you're also getting updated with the news. So you're basically getting a much higher return on investment with your time. So that's my suggestion as well. And Goldie's suggestion would mean that you are learning Persian and getting updated with the best analysis on the news. And my suggestion means that you're learning Persian, and also you're learning about Iran's history and also Pahlavi. So, yeah. 2 birds with 1 stone. No offense to birds, by the way. And thank you so much for the super chat. And then we have Ida. Ida saying, "What's going on? What's happening? What's up, lovely people? We're great. Well, what's up with you, Ida? How are you doing?" Yeah, we were just the main 2 news is that President Trump said that we're going to get the enriched uranium out of Iran. There's no other way around it. And also a major news from Mujtaba Khamenei saying that there's no way that we're going to give them the enriched uranium, which means that liberation of Iran can only happen with military operations. So that's a short summary of the most major news right now from inside Iran and from President Trump. And thank you again for supporting us. And then we have Marcus. Marcus is saying, "Wait, it's time for super chats? Let's effing go." Yes, let's go. Okay. Thank you, Marcus, for the super chat. And then Hezi saying, "Durud everyone, Payande Iran, Javid Shah." Well, thank you, Javid Shah, back at you. Thank you for that. And then we have Wyatt. Wyatt is saying, "If you folks are upset that Trump pauses between fighting, this is because of the WPR. Trump has only 60 days, so he stops and restarts his 60 days. That might be one of the reasons, among many other reasons, but that's a good observation. But I don't know about that, because is the War Powers Act like that big of a deal? Because it is unconstitutional, and you need a 2/3 majority in the Senate and in the House for President Trump not to be able to veto it. But maybe after the midterms, that would become more likely to achieve. But even if they do achieve,
the way it works, Armin, is that if it was passed, President Trump can veto it. Okay.
Veto it, yeah.
And then if and when it's vetoed, it goes back for a second round of voting, and then they have to vote on it again. And in order for it to not be able, to basically cancel the veto, they need 2/3 of the vote, which they would never get. So this whole War Powers Act is it's just something the Democrats are doing to distract.
But even after that, even if they do get the 2/3, which some people suggest that it becomes more likely after the midterms, we'll see. But even if they do get the 2/3, which is not going to be vetoable anymore by President Trump, then what would happen is that the White House will be like, well, we're going to ignore it because it's unconstitutional, even if they do. And then it will go back to the House and Senate, and they then have to bring it to the Supreme Court. And then the Supreme Court needs to pass a judgment on whether or not the War Powers Act is constitutional or not. So there's there's so many steps to this. And hopefully by then Iran is liberated anyways, right? Given how many steps it takes, right? So then we go to the next super chat. Guys, this is why it's important for you to vote, okay? This is why it's important for you to vote, because the midterms, could, are very influential in what President Trump, because even this is actually important. Even if President Trump, the War Powers Act cannot stop President Trump, the Democrats are going to, the fact that they get a majority vote, for example, in the Senate to push this forward, the Democrats are going to use it as a way to drain President Trump's political capital. So it might not be important legally, but it might be more important from a narrative perspective, from a political perspective, as a way to bring attention to it, like, oh, you don't have enough support for this war. So that's why it's important for you guys to vote. Okay, and then we have the next super chat by Bill saying, is President Donald Trump compromising?
No.
Doesn't seem like it to me.
No. He's never wavered from his core objectives. The core objective is for the Islamic regime to never have a nuclear weapon. The other core objective is to go in and get the nuclear dust. It's also about limitation of ballistic missiles. And then, of course, stopping support for the terrorist proxy groups in the Middle East, and finally reopening the Strait of Hormuz. And those 5 key points have been there from the beginning, and it's never changed. So that's what President Trump wants, and I don't see him. I don't see him compromising on those terms in any way, shape, or form. And keep in mind, guys, the Islamic regime will never accept those terms, because if they accept those terms, that will essentially translate into the Islamic regime surrendering, right? Because like even for example, the support for their terrorist proxy groups. Well, one of the ways that the Islamic regime has remained in power in occupied Iran is through their foreign external terrorist proxy groups that they bring in to murder and oppress the Iranian people. So effectively, the deal, the terms of the deal that President Trump wants the Islamic regime to agree to is in and of itself surrender. So it's basically a surrender deal. And that's why the Islamic regime is refusing to accept it.
Exactly. And every time we hear that, oh, this is the new terms by the Americans, and it seems like there's a lot of compromises to it, we end up at some point hearing that after that, oh, that was fake news. And somebody asks a question of President Trump, like, is this acceptable? And he just says, nope, it's not. So just be careful, because I don't know, like Axios, New York Times, there's many different sources that say something about President Trump or Prime Minister Netanyahu, and then whenever the clarification comes, we end up realizing that it was either not true or an exaggeration. So far that's how it has been. So we'll see. But yeah, so far every time we go back to exactly the unnegotiable red lines that Americans have, which means that nothing short of full surrender will be acceptable. And then push-ups is saying, thank you, push-ups, thank you so much for the super chat, saying, can you guy, what is that? Stories of, what is that? I don't understand.
Corroborate. So Push-Ups is asking, can you guys corroborate stories of Army? Can you guys corroborate stories of Army/IRGC clashes?
Oh no, we can't. No,
we can't. There's been nothing else that's been put out. Nothing from like the OSINT accounts that I follow. Like nothing from Shin. I haven't seen anything from Vahid Online. Nothing on like the regular news networks. So I mean, they're like, guys, we're not saying it's not happening. All I'm saying is that we don't know, because we haven't heard any other sources claiming this. So maybe something's happening, maybe something's not. We don't know, because of the lack of internet. The country is in a blackout right now.
Yes, that guy, instead of guys, threw me off. I was like, can you guy corroborate? Like what guy? Who's guy? I have a friend, his name is Guy, and I was like, are you talking about him? All right, yes. So guys, we have a high standard here at Iran Revolution Live. We do not, some of these news could be true, but we have seen how much people just make stuff up for views and clicks, and we have to be careful. It could be true, though. It could be true. Actually, I don't know. Here's the thing. If you read the claim, it's a claim that if it was true, seems like we would have known from better sources. Like, it's such a big claim. Like, we're talking about massive armed clashes between Artish and IRGC without any credible source. I'm pretty sure people from Iran would have noticed something. That is not something that you could hide. So it does seem like an extraordinary claim right now, without any evidence. So we have to be very skeptical about that. And thank you, by the way, for asking and the super chat. And Robert saying, I love you both. We love you too. We love you too, Robert. Saying, remember, I was your first honorary Iranian. Okay. And nobody, Robert, will ever be able to take that away from you. Okay. You were the first. Every other honorary Iranian came after. We will never forget that. We promise we will never forget that. And thank you. Oh, by the way, I became an honorary American earlier today. Sherry made me an honorary. Yeah,
Congratulations.
Thank you, thank you. And I made her an honor. Can I make people honorary Iranians too, Goldie? Or is that
Yeah.
just you?
I mean,
Okay.
everyone, like the Iran Revolution Live community is pretty much honorary Iranians at this point, every single one. So
Awesome. That's good. Okay. Blizz. Hold on, where did it go? Saying thank you, Amir, for the gift membership. I will do my best to use it wisely. Javid Shah.
Thank you, Javid Shah.
Yes, guys. Javid Shah. And guys, everybody who's a member, remember, with great power comes great responsibility. So use your powers of membership wisely, like Blizz here is. Okay. And then we have Ida. Ida saying, I can't believe he's teasing you with that. Who?
I think she's referring to the Ukraine comment.
Oh. Okay. Okay. Was that it? Was that being trolled? Okay. I can't tell. I can't tell anymore. Every time Goldie has been trolling me, I have trauma.
No, I don't. When have I ever trolled you? Oh my gosh.
I remember this. Oh, okay.
That was so funny.
Yeah.
That was so funny.
Oh my god. I was like, what's going on? Why are we doing this?
That was a good troll. That was a good troll. And then everyone in the chat was doing the salute emoji as well. That was fun. Need to find
what
that.
are we doing here? Yeah. Okay. And okay, Robert saying, I was your first honorary Iranian. You are both gifts from God. Oh my God. Well, thank you. Wow.
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you, Robert. You're so kind. Saber Coaching is saying, watch movies you've seen before in Farsi dub. Oh yeah, that's also fun. Yes, that's actually a good idea because you know what they're gonna say. So yeah, that's actually a genius idea to learn Persian. Good idea. Good idea. And push-ups again with another super chat saying the only Persian word I learned from Gigi from Goldie Ghamari is aftabe. Well, that's very important.
Oh my god. You've learned other things. You've learned like durud and kotlet and all these other words. Oh my gosh.
Yeah. Aftabe is essential though. So it's
That
good
is true.
that you learned that. Yes, yes. And then we got a super chat from Spees. I'm just gonna call you Spees. Thank you. Oh, it's a super sticker. Thank you, Spees, for the super sticker. I appreciate that.
Armin, I kind of feel like people are now changing their YouTube names to something unpronounceable and giving you stickers just to make you like try to read out their names, and I'm thoroughly enjoying it.
Really? Okay. Oh no. Okay, guys, as long as there's no German in your username, okay? As long as there's no German, we could tolerate this, okay? And oh my god, I still have trauma from what Goldie made me do reading all those German posters. Okay, and then Goldie even made, not only I was given English posters for Iranian marches to read, she even went and translated posters that were purely in English into German. So I would have to read, like, posters that did not exist in German was translated into German for me to read out loud. Okay. Oh my god. Cat Lover with a super chat saying Reza Shah was the last prime minister of Qajar.
Yep, he was.
Yep.
Before he was voted in by the Majlis to replace the previous dynasty and become the Shah of Iran. Yeah, he was. I believe he was Minister of War and Prime Minister. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, and we have Amy. Amy saying, look, Iranian Canucks know more about US policy than Americans.
True.
Let's do better and educate our kids going forward, okay? Go America. Yes. Okay. Thank you, Amy. Thank you for that. And then we have Pops into Pops. I'm just gonna call you Pops. Pops is saying Trump, Rubio, and Hicksett have all said individually the War Powers Act is unconstitutional. Exactly. So they don't recognize needing approval. Exactly. Why would he ask permission from Dems who would leak operations? Exactly. Perfect. I have nothing to add to anything you said because they were all perfect and valid points. Okay. So no comments needed. Perfect. And thank you for the super chat. And Kurt is saying Tusi said it had it and he usually checks his sources. Oh, Tusi said there's a comma there. Tusi said it and he usually checks his sources. Said what? About the clash between
about the clashes, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, so I mean it could definitely be happening. Absolutely.
Yeah. We're not saying it didn't happen. We're just saying that Goldie and I haven't seen any sources, and if Tusi has access to sources that Goldie and I don't have, then Tusi could be confident about it. But obviously, me and Goldie have to wait until we see those sources, right? And then we have Chase. Thank you so much, Chase, for the super chat. So super sticker. Thank you so much for the support. And then Chicken Bird 69. Thank you so much for the super chat saying Armin and Goldie are the best. Well, thank you. Okay. Much love from the US.
Thank you.
Oh, thank you. Thank you so much. That's very sweet. And then we have Ida. Ida saying, no, I don't mean he was trolling you, just teasing you with love. Okay. I don't know the difference, but but thank you. Thank you, Ida. I appreciate that. And then we have Bill saying Tusi said clashes were happening yesterday. Okay, well, thank you for letting us know. Thank you. And yeah, we will keep our eyes and ears open, okay, for any news on that. And then last but not least, Cyrus. So I think that's Cyrus, but you put S instead of C. So Cyrus the Great 9 is saying Nigel Farage has always been consistent in distancing himself from Tommy Robinson. Nigel has a far higher recognition than Rupert Lowe. Well, that's just because of his history, of the longer history that he has been in the game, and his Brexit position that got him so much attention. I think. I mean, I'm not that well versed in UK politics, but I know that many. Regardless of Rupert Lowe, what about Tommy Robinson? Tommy Robinson is very, very popular in the UK, right? And just give him and we'll see. But at the end of the day, I would prefer voting for an anti-immigration party in the UK if it was me, that was not anti-mass migration, okay? An anti-Islamic migration party in the UK that was not against Tommy Robinson, that recognizes Tommy Robinson as the hero that he is, okay? But to each their own, okay? To each their own. I'm just personally would vote Restore. I mean, it doesn't make sense to just vote for a party just because more people are voting for it, right? So I would be voting Restore rather than Reform if it was me. But I'm not against. I'm not against people voting for Reform. And also, you also gave us another super chat saying the UK would never have left the EU without Nigel. Yeah, I know that he's a main champion for Brexit for sure. But how do you explain his anti-Tommy Robinson positions? Right, that's not good. And thank you for the super chat. And Adam, thank you so much for the last super chat saying Goldie show last night had Armin energy, the crazy Dems getting us all. Oh wow, okay.
Yeah, we started watching the 3-hour congressional hearing with Admiral Brad Cooper, and I only got about 27 minutes in on like a 3-hour live stream. Yeah,
unbelievable. Okay.
Yeah, so there you go. But we're going to continue that.
Okay. Oh, you're going to continue where you left off, right?
Yeah. So part two is tonight. Oh,
okay, nice. Okay, let me see if this is what I want. Yes, it is. Oh, after okay. Goldie, explain that.
It's basically like a bidet. It's the what was done before the bidets were invented. It's just how you clean yourself, basically.
Yes, yes.
So
okay. Wait, let me see if we have any crazy new updates. Give me a second because I want to make sure I'm not missing out anything. Ooh, yeah, okay.
The
so, guys, because
U.S. State Department just put out a press release. They're sanctioning Hezbollah's enablers in Lebanon. So they're sanctioning 9 individuals who enable Hezbollah to undermine Lebanon's sovereignty by supporting the terrorist group. These individuals further the Iranian regime's malicious agenda in Lebanon and actively obstruct the path to peace and recovery for the Lebanese people. So it seems like the U.S. administration is going after the Islamic regime from all angles, and that includes going after Hezbollah. So that's sort of like a recent news.
Okay. We also have this. So let's see. Iran International just said something about saying citing sources familiar with U.S. intelligence assessment reported that the Islamic Republic has resumed part of its drone production during the 6-week ceasefire. According to this report, this development is a sign that Tehran is rapidly rebuilding part of its military capabilities that were damaged in the U.S. and Israel attacks. Guys, this is why you can't let them rebuild. This is why you need regime change, and there's no other way around it. Four sources told CNN, what CNN, I don't know about that, that U.S. intelligence indicates the Islamic Republic's army is rebuilding and restoring its capabilities much faster than initial estimates. Okay, I don't know if this is true or not, but even if but this is why we need to go back to boom booms fast. This rebuilding includes replacing missile sites, launchers, and production capacity for key weapon systems that were damaged or destroyed during the conflict. This is why the Islamic Republic was buying so much drone components from Russia through the Caspian Sea and missile components from China through land routes, going, I think, through Pakistan maybe. It's saying, according to sources familiar with these assessments, this trend means that if the bombing campaign is resumed by Donald Trump, the president of the United States, the Tehran will remain a serious threat to America's. Oh, look at this. Let me read this again. According to sources familiar with these assessments, this trend means that if the bombing campaign is resumed by Donald J. Trump, the president of, and we know who he is, Tehran will remain a serious threat to America's regional allies. What are you talking about? Shouldn't you say if the bombing doesn't resume, they will remain? This means that you have to resume the bombings. What the hell? A U.S. official told CNN, they're getting the opposite conclusion here. A U.S. official told CNN, it's CNN, that some intelligence estimates suggest the Iranian regime may be able to fully restore its drone attack capabilities within 6 months. Okay, well, then get back on destroying them before they get to that point. I'm not saying I trust this report, but even if you do want to trust it, that just means we have to go back fast before they get the chance. That's the only conclusion that we could make from this, get from this. Anyways, let's go to here. This was the most recent.
Now let's go to Aisha Hasni. She's at the White House. Hi, Aisha.
Hey, Dana, good morning to you. And some breaking news out of the White House this morning. They are pushing back hard on this Reuters report this morning that claims that the Iranian supreme leader allegedly said that the enriched uranium that is inside the country right now will not be allowed to leave as part of any peace agreement or nuclear deal. That would have complicated these talks by a lot. It would have really ticked off Israel, but the White House is pushing back on this. They say that Reuters report is not true. I'm told that, in fact, no decision has been made on that particular issue about the enriched uranium, what happens to it. No determination has been made either way, and that report is not true.
Also, why are they showing him? He's dead.
Yeah, why is he?
Yeah, this is the guys. You guys have the wrong Khamenei. This one was boom boomed on February 28th.
Well, maybe Moshtaba is so irrelevant that his dead father is more of an influence than him alive. I don't know.
I can't believe they still haven't
President
buried him. That's hilarious.
Yeah, it's so humiliating.
Warning Iran that the U.S. military is ready to go if they do not give him the right answer soon.
We are in the final stages of Iran. We'll see what happens. We'll either have a deal or we're going to do some things that are a little bit nasty.
Oh, you know, Goldie, the one that you sent me is more recent. Let's go with that one. This one just came out. This will have more updated information. Let's play it first.
President Trump will address the nation from the Oval Office on grocery prices. The president is taking action and will make an announcement on a key part of the cost of groceries, what he's about to attack on that right now. And he, of course, could comment on a host of issues, including what's happening right now with Iran. Is there a peace deal coming? Will we dig back in with war against that radical Islamic nation? We'll take you there live the moment the president begins speaking. And the ceasefire with that Islamic regime is now hanging by a thread. The president has put Iran on the clock. The White House says Iran has only days to show it's serious about a deal. And we've come to expect Iran is sending mixed signals. The world is watching to see whether serious diplomacy and deal-making will take hold or the strikes will begin again. I'm Harris Faulkner. You are in the Faulkner Focus. Here's President Trump from yesterday.
If we don't get the right answers, it goes very quickly. We're all ready to go. We have to get the right answers. It would have to be a complete 100% good answers. It could go very quickly. Or a few days. It could be a few days, but it could go very quickly. Iran is a defeated nation.
Yeah, they also don't have like a singular column of leadership. I mean, how do you deal with a country that's run by terrorists on one hand and citizenry that's not armed and afraid and hiding at this point, while that country continues to hunt its own and try to fight its way to take the Strait of Hormuz back, which is what we're watching right now. Our U.S. blockade of Iranian ports continues, and it is really punishing that country. CENTCOM released this brand new video of Marines boarding an Iranian flag tanker. They searched it, ordered it to change course, and U.S. forces have redirected now 94 commercial vessels and disabled 4 others while enforcing the U.S. blockade.
Beautiful.
This is a live look at marine traffic in and around the Strait of Hormuz. So we're still watching all of this. The ship icons that you see on this graphic show vessels moving through one of the most important energy transport lanes in the world. Not a lot of them, but they are there. Americans weighed in on the conflict. And check out this new Fox polling. It shows 65% of registered voters, all parties, say the U.S. is winning the war in Iran.
Oh, wow. That's pretty good. Those are nice numbers. Those are great numbers.
Now, the bulk of them don't want us there necessarily, but if we're there, look at that number. Lieutenant General Keith Kellogg coming up in focus. We'll begin with Fox Business correspondent Ashley Webster in Tel Aviv. Right on time for talking the money part of this as well. Ashley.
Well, there's always a money angle. Harris, hello to you. I think at this hour, it's fair to say that shuttle diplomacy is in high gear. Tehran reportedly looking at the latest counter-peace proposal from Washington at this hour. But at the middle of all of this, we should mention is Pakistan. The country's interior minister in Tehran for the second time in less than a week to help mediate the talks. Also, Pakistan's army chief expected to join the discussions. Iranian state media claims the U.S. is offering sanctions relief. Apparently, that was news to President Trump, who says it's not true. Listen. No, I haven't heard that.
See, guys, every time we're like, oh my God, they're going to give them sanctions relief. What is this new news that they're going to get sanctions? And you would go ask President Trump, like, nope, we're not going to do that. Again and again. So don't panic when you hear the news like that.
I'm not doing any relief until they sign an agreement. When they sign an agreement, we can get that place built up again and have something that's really a good country for the people. But no, we haven't offered anything.
Well, the president says he could wait a few days to get the right answers, but is also willing to resume attacks on the country. Iran's foreign minister, meantime, says his country is prepared for any outcome. Listen.
Should it become necessary, should the interests of the state dictate that we prepare ourselves in the field of diplomacy, of discussion, of negotiation, then we will prepare ourselves. But with strength, the same strength with which the armed forces prepare themselves in defense of the country.
Meantime, tensions over the Strait of Hormuz are rising, with more than 1,500 ships and oil tankers still stranded. Iran, by the way, has released a map showing what it calls a controlled maritime zone.
Wow.
Tehran says it's committed to reopening the strait to friendly countries that abide by its terms, which will most likely include fees for just going through the strait. And Washington, by the way...
Yeah, the whole guys, forget just the United States and Israel. The whole world would be like, no effing way, no effing way. Like, this is international waters and one of the most important ones. The whole world is not going to tolerate the Islamic Republic doing that.
Reacting to that, saying it is simply unacceptable. Harris, back to you.
Ashley Webster, thank you very much. In focus with me now, Lieutenant General Keith Kellogg, former special envoy to Ukraine and Russia and American Security Co-Chair for the America First Policy Institute. Good to see you. Look, it's 6 weeks of now this ceasefire, 83 days of war. So we've been in ceasefire for a little bit more than half the time we've been at war, and we don't have a deal yet. How long will we wait? And does it benefit us to wait much longer?
Yeah, Harris, it's good to be with you. Look, I am actually stunned by the patience President Trump has had over this period of time. I mean, he's got it right. I mean, he's the only president of the last 8 presidents who's really got this thing right in trying to get Iran under control. And he's dealing with a bunch of thugs. When you look at people like Arachi, the Supreme Leader, what they're saying is just, it's not acceptable out there. You know, back months ago,
I like how Americans say arakchi. They make it seem like an exotic vegetable or something from like a tropical island. That's every time Americans say, I don't know why, but every time Americans mention arakchi, I feel like it's the name of this like very rare exotic plant in a tropical forest somewhere. That's what it sounds like to me. I don't know why.
So when I was on with Shannon Bream, I said, you know, what you need to do, you don't need a ground invasion of Iran, because that's such a large country, it's too hard to do that. But you can actually take strategic key targets that you want to, like, and I've been a big advocate of Kharg Island or Rock Island as well. Take those, open up the straits that way, and you control their economy. I mean, especially 90% of their economy comes from Kharg Island. Well, then you just put your foot on their throat. I know it sounds hard over, but the fact of the matter is, accept some risk. It is a war, and you should accept some risk to do that and put key troops in key positions to do so. I mean, the president's patience has just been enormous, and he's let this thing go. But you know, I don't trust the Iranians. They're going to delay. That's what Arachi's talking about. He wrote the book on Iranian negotiations. He was part of the original Iranian nuclear deal. I don't trust him at all. I don't trust the Supreme Leader at all. When you look at people like Vahidi, who runs right now, these are all hardliners. We need to accept that. And the fact is not going to go any further. And I would just say, we're done negotiating with you. Give us a call after we do this, and we'll pick up the phone then, but not before. We're done.
Look, if we had taken that step earlier, even like 3 weeks ago, we'd be closer to ending this thing, because all the things that you just said are true for Iran, regardless of when we hit them. Like that, they're not going to have any income anyway. So, I mean, we want peace. Everybody wants peace. That's the end goal, except for Iran. They would love nothing more than to pull us into
Well, Iran also wants peace, but the regime doesn't.
this. But when does it get to be too late for this sort of thing? And I'm not talking about politically, because they have friends, and we know that they are, and those friends are not ours.
Oh.
You know, Harris, this is crazy. You know, it's like 34% of Americans don't believe we're winning the war. Excuse me? What? The fact of the matter is, these guys are nuts. They think they're winning the war. They're not. They think they can survive this. They cannot. And we just have to keep our foot on their throat to keep going further and making sure they understand the only way we're going to get out of this is a peaceful resolution. Or if you look at it, there's actually active revolts going on inside Iran at this time. And I think that's going to continue. And these guys are running the country right now, the theocratic government and the Revolutionary Guards. They need to go. They're not the army. They're not the people. And I wouldn't continue a bombing campaign because that just hurts the people. But everything we can do to take down this government, this theocratic government, and open up the straits, we need to do.
All right. Iran announced a newly created Persian Gulf Strait Authority. And it says in a post that there will be a controlled maritime zone in the Strait of Hormuz. Iran says transit through the area to pass through the strait will require coordination and authorization from the authority. Are they just making stuff up now at this point? I mean, they can mine it. They can shoot at ships. There's a whole lot they can do. And now it looks like they want to make some money off the deal.
You know, these guys are just nuts. That's what you're not talking about. Think about them as they think they're winning. They're not. They're creating this falsehood that's out there right now. And when you look at our blockade, which has been incredible.
Yeah, from their perspective, even if they're not winning, if they could convince their followers that they're winning, that's good enough. That's what they think.
Incredibly successful. When you look at somebody like President Trump, has been very insightful on what he wants to do with Iran. They're on a losing side, and they just don't know it yet. It's almost like you're in the middle of a ring punching these guys out, and they don't know they're losing the fight. They are losing this war. And the fact of the matter, you can take it a step further and create it so we become the oil barons of the entire world. And the president can do that.
Lieutenant General.
All right. So that was that. So, guys, I'm about to go to our discussion group. I know we got a super chat. I will read it soon. I just want to put the widget on the top right. On the top right, there's a QR code that if you scan it, it will bring you to this discussion group. And today's discussion group is open. It's open to everybody. That means it's not VIP or premium. You could just come and just join our group call and talk to me and the rest of the people there. So just come in, ask me questions, and talk to the other people in our community there. If open group call for everybody. And there's multiple ways that you could get here. You could either scan the QR code. Wait, did it not post in my YouTube channel? Or you could, basically, the link is in the chat as well right now. You could click on that. And also on Liberty Politics YouTube channel, the link is in the bio. So either way, come here. Oh, look, it already started. People are already inside. So I'm going to go join them and I'm going to go talk to them. And Goldie, what do you have coming up?
So I have a few videos that I'm going to be making, and then I'm doing my live stream later this evening to continue the documentary watch party that we had last night. I saw someone on Rumble was asking about the difference between the IRGC and the Artesh. I'll make a video. That's one of the things I'm working on. So I'll make a video for you guys that sort of explains the difference between the Artesh and the IRGC. So I'll make a note of that as well.
That's very useful. Thank you, Goldie. That's very useful, guys. These are good resources that you could share with people who want to learn about Iran. And we got 2 super chats. I-Night Call is saying, if President Trump has already removed key leadership, how does the Iranian regime still have power enough to even negotiate? Well, actually, the answer to that is that they're finding it very difficult because there is new leadership, but there's infighting among the new leadership. But given what I've seen in the past few days, it seems like they're getting a little bit more aligned. So that's why we need to go and destroy this new layer of leadership soon. So when you say how do they even negotiate, with great difficulty, because the new layer of leadership, they don't have the same view on what needs to be done. But Vahidi seems to now have the complete upper hand, and other people are being pushed aside. And because Vahidi is becoming the new leader, and other people have to just submit to his will, it might get easier for the regime to negotiate going forward. But the good thing is Vahidi is very unflexible when it comes to the red lines that the regime has. So it will still be difficult for them to negotiate because it's very hard to accept the red lines of President Trump. And then you say, how and why do they still have power to do anything that is prolonging this war? Thank you. Okay, so the reason is that a couple of years ago, there was this leader of the IRGC. Let me bring up the boom boom chart really quickly for you to answer that. Here, if you look at the boom boom chart, okay, so this guy over here, right, Jafari, right, this guy who is the enemy of Ghalibaf, he created a mosaic structure of IRGC that means that these 32 provincial commanders of IRGC will be able to make decisions independently without checking with the central command structure, which means that it's a more flat leadership structure, which made the IRGC a bit more resilient. Even if you take their central leadership, they could continue to fight. However, that's the feature. But the bug is, given that they are independent, it means that it's hard for the regime to negotiate with the Americans, because each one of these have their own agenda and their own way of thinking. And so the benefit for the regime is that it makes it more resilient, but the cost is that it will make it difficult for negotiations because they're not aligned, right? And also, when you say why can they do anything, if you look at the things that they're doing, they're focusing on things that are the cost is low, right? So they can't do anything big because they don't have any Navy or Air Force or any big their missiles are limited now compared to before. I mean, they're trying to bring that back, but however, the number of missiles and drones that they need to cause any to cause hassle, to be a threat to commercial ship in the Strait of Hormuz is very limited, and that's why they can do that. And also, the suppression of the Iranian people is much less costly compared to the other things that they could have done before, and they can't right now. And also, they still make enough billions of dollars. It's much less than before, but they still make enough money to be able to pay proxy militias from outside of Iran. And that's why they're focusing on those things. So always remember that the cost associated with causing chaos is so much lower than the cost associated with bringing stability, and that's the secret behind asymmetric warfare, right? So that's the answer. And then Philly with the last super chat, thank you again for supporting us, saying, have Goldie received an email from Twitch about reaching affiliate? I think it should have been reached a while back. Javid Shah. So Goldie,
I mean, I probably have. I just haven't really looked into it. I guess I should figure out the Twitch affiliate thing as well, because I'm live streaming there. But thank you for the reminder. I'll definitely look into that for sure. Yeah, I've just been so busy with everything else. But yeah, thank you. I will look into that for sure. All right, Armin, what's the topic for today?
The topic for today is going to be the latest updates coming from inside of Iran. That's the first one that we're going to be talking about in the discussion group, and also U.S. responses. So yeah, that's what we're going to, and also just analyzing the latest geopolitical stuff in the Middle East. But also in the discussion group, the topics are community driven. So after I give my first statement, then the people in the community decide what the other topics are going to be. So people put a 1 in the chat, and then they get put in a list to talk. And when they talk, they decide what they want to talk about, and the rest of us respond to that topic. So it's community driven. Yeah.
Fantastic. All right. We'll have fun with that.
All right, we will. And yeah, so guys, also remember to put the notification on for Goldie's channel on YouTube. So when she goes live, you could join that. And yeah, till tomorrow, same time. I'm Israel Chai. Long live America. Javid Shah. Oh, I'm Israel Chai. Long live America.
God bless America.
I'm sorry. Javid
Shah. Oh my God.
Javid Shah.
And
Iran. I'm
See
sorry.
you guys
Hi guys.
later.
I'm sorry. Bye.
غرق انقلاب است. کشور ما، تاریخ ما ترسید گر فرا گرفته، گویی اهورا مستا دوباره در در نور خود مرا گرفته. اشکم سرودی سر میدهم باز فارغ از رنج و تشویش. ایران غرق انقلاب است، به پیش به پیش به پیش. ایران غرق انقلاب است، به پیش به پیش به پیش. هن ای پدر هن ای پسر، برخیز و باماش و هنگام تا درد آن تجربه تلخ ما را نکشیده در پا. بگذار هر دم ببرند برکا دم لباس میش. ایران غرق انقلاب است، به پیش به پیش به پیش. ایران غرق انقلاب است، به پیش به پیش به پیش. ای کارگر ای برزگر، راحت کنون ادامه دارد در این زمان که پرتو یزدان از هر سو بر تو میبارد. پس پیش به سوی آزادی از بحر خزر تا کیش. ایران غرق انقلاب است، به پیش به پیش به پیش. ایران غرق انقلاب است، به پیش به پیش به پیش. خلقا به پا بهر دفاع از استقلال و آزادی تا بشکنیم پشت ارتجاع تیریزی ویران آبادی. تا زنده سازیم سنت‌های می از بر آیین و کیش. ایران غرق انقلاب است، به پیش به پیش به پیش. ایران غرق انقلاب است، به پیش به پیش به پیش.
با امید روزی که تمام این دلبشو و انقلاب تموم بشه و ما در روشنایی، نور و سعادت مردم کشورمون غرق بشیم.
نه خارجی نه بیگانه، نه مستشارهای ویرانی، نه چیر خاران نه کاسه لیسان، فقط هم رزمان ایرانی. ما با شرافت میهنی بسازیم بهر فرزندان خویش. ایران غرق انقلاب است، به پیش به پیش به پیش. ایران غرق انقلاب است، به پیش به پیش به پیش. مردان بیایید داخل صف ما اکنون که آغاز رویاست. دشمنان بدانید ما زنده هستیم، بعد از ما هم ایران پابرجاست. آن روح شیطان ما را فریب داد با صد شعار مردمیش. ایران غرق انقلاب است، به پیش به پیش به پیش. ایران غرق انقلاب است، به پیش به پیش به پیش. پرچم ما پرچم ایران غرق خون شهیدان، روی شانه هامان حمل میکنیمش در هر خیابان و میدان. تا ماسک دلغکان را برداریم از روی تسبیح و ریش. ایران غرق انقلاب است، به پیش به پیش به پیش. ایران غرق انقلاب است، به پیش به پیش به پیش.